I'm Erwin from Indonesia. I represent the regular class 44A MBA ITB. In this session, I will continue the business case presentation from the Center for Asian Business Case. The title is Indonesia and the Currency Board Proposal. The first presentation is delivered by Andros about the economic condition in Indonesia before the crisis hit in 1998. As we know before, in 1998, Indonesia was hit by the economic crisis. Things that caused the crisis could not be separated from the role of Asia's global markets financial crisis. And there are foreign debts which matures at the same time when the financial crisis happened. Indonesia was not ready with the swift capital outflow and other important matters that have an influence on decisions in the future is the availability of foreign exchange reserve. Indonesia has a limited foreign exchange reserve that led this country to bankruptcy. In the year 1980 to 1996, Indonesia's gross domestic product is an interesting factor for foreign investors to put their funds in Indonesia. But this thing led to a greater Indonesia's dependence on foreign funds. It also brought Indonesia to the abyss of bankruptcy when there is a large scale of foreign capital flow. At the time of crisis, Indonesia is faced with two options: whether to approve the agreement from the International Monetary Fund or IMF for loans, or adopt the currency board as the advice from Stephen Hanke. On this occasion, I will explain each of the advantages and the disadvantages of both options. First, I will explain about the agreement from the IMF. If Suharto, as the president of Indonesia at that time, approved the agreement, there are several conditions that must be fulfilled by Indonesia. First, a reduction of government spending and an increase in taxation. Second, the elimination of government subsidies. And third, the reduction of external trade restrictions such as tariff quotas, together with a reduction in foreign exchange restrictions. Fourth, the achievement of realistic exchange rates. Fifth, an increase in domestic interest rates. If these five conditions are not fulfilled or Suharto choose to adopt currency board, IMF would not provide loans for Indonesia. The point from the agreement is the agreement can be a control for the IMF on Indonesia. The controls from IMF are aimed for the economic stabilization in Indonesia by utilizing the IMF loans. But there are critics on the condition in the agreements from IMF. The critics came from Professor Jeffrey Sachs. He claimed that the IMF had imposed macroeconomic contraction on top of the market panic. It worsening the situation by creating much more panic than calm. He also pointed out that there is not enough transparency on the IMF agreement. Martin Feldstein, the Harvard professor and a former chairman of the US President's Council of Economic Advisor, also give comment about the structural reform offered by IMF in the agreement. He commented that IMF would be more effective in its actions and more legitimate in the eyes of emerging market countries if it pursued the less ambitious goal of maintaining countries' access to floatable capital market and international bank lending. He also commented that IMF should eschew the temptation to use crisis as an opportunity to force fundamental structural and institutional reforms on countries, and it should strongly resist the pressure from the United States, Japan, and other major countries that to make their trade and investment agenda part of the IMF fund conditions. final decision from President Suharto was to choose the IMF agreement rather than currency board. The decision led to chaos in Indonesia, and at the end, and it is the end of Suharto regime in Indonesia. Actually, Suharto is also considering the Stephen Han suggestion to adopt currency board. If Indonesia adopt the currency board, rupiah can be fixed at the rate 5,000 rupiah. The foreign exchange rate, the foreign exchange market is looking at 5,500 rupiah per dollars. But while others believe at 7,000 to 8,000 would be more realistic. There is a gap between 5,000 and 7,000 to 8,000. The gap is filled with the foreign exchange reserve. Therefore, the currency board proposal requires enough foreign exchange reserve. The currency board seemed to offer a ray of hope that the currency could be stabilized and then the economy might be set working again in less turbulent condition. But Suharto is having pressure from the international market if he adopts the currency board proposal, because the adoption of this proposal will withdraw the IMF support on loans, and the currency board proposal put more risk on foreign investment in Indonesia. So there is dilemma in Suharto decisions, but there are both have a positive and negative effect. Although many critics on it, Suharto finally chose to approve the agreement from IMF with the consideration that Indonesia is short of funds and a lack of foreign exchange reserve. The funds from IMF can be utilized to save Indonesia from bankruptcy and maintain long-term economic stabilization. So maintain Indonesia in the floating exchange rate condition. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. I'm Erwin Firdaus, and my partner Andros represent MBA ITB. Thank you for your attention. Hope this presentation could be useful. Goodbye.